Welcome to the Crack On podcast, hosted by me, Jon Saunders. Crack On! Hey guys, and welcome to the third episode of the Crack On podcast. And this morning, I'm very lucky to be giving up a morning for me. And I'd like to introduce the amazing entrepreneur, Lisa Marie Brown. Hi, Lisa, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you, John?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm really well, thanks. I'm really well. How's things this morning?
Yeah, really good. We're working on a new house, so we've been working on the renovations for that. So we've been up to our eyeballs throughout the pandemic, just working non-stop.
So it's a time to do it, isn't it? Did you start that before, or did you start the buildings before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, so just before the pandemic, we were selling a few properties, and then the pandemic hit. And we had a bit of a shock. I think, like everyone, we were like, "Oh my God, there's a pandemic! We don't have to go into lockdown." We've never really experienced a pandemic or a lockdown before, so it was completely new for me. But I had like a few properties, and then the property market went into freeze that we had on sale. So what we did, we basically listed the properties ourselves then via Facebook and sold both of them. So and we moved into a new build, which we've been working on for the last 6 weeks. So we're just finishing that up now. But it was £1.5 million worth of property transactions that we completed during the pandemic, which is like a miracle if I think about it.
That's
very exciting. Yeah, and my bank manager said that he'd never done a transaction of that size in about 10 years. So he just congratulated us, especially in the pandemic, to pull that off. It was quite a big deal.
Well, do you want to run through, I obviously introduced you, but do you want to just run through what you do, what you're doing at the moment? And, we'll talk about Pinkspiration and what you've done in the past. But yeah, do you want to just run through what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I'm working in the construction industry on regeneration programs in Newport and in Swansea. So I'm currently working on a new build development of 144 new homes in Gwynfine, and that's all zero carbon and zero footprint, which is a really exciting program. That's a £10 million program, and the idea is that the scheme will create more sustainable and green carbon footprint homes. And as part of that, I'm training and upskilling young people and women and girls and helping them into industry. So I work with like Pobl and coastal Welsh government, UK government, to make sure that we can get prosperity for everyone throughout like regeneration programs. So that's one of my projects I'm working on. And then I've got an energy project that I'm working on, which is the installation of 700 solar panels and battery packs into the Penderry area. So that will be a transformation project, and it'll be a flagship program across the UK. And that's all about basically encouraging like a zero footprint, but making sure that we can recycle and reuse money and make our communities more prosperous. And so yeah, it's a very exciting program to work on.
Is that mainly in Wales then? I take a lot of those projects there in Wales at the moment, or?
Yeah, so those projects are in Wales. They're in Penderry and Swansea, and then some are in Newport.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I've just been working on community benefits and regeneration and ensuring that we can give back more to the community, so encourage local people to become more prosperous as part of the regeneration. And yeah, so I've been doing some really nice things like donating money to food banks and donating money for small and local businesses. The last few weeks, I think I've given out about £6,000 to £7,000 to small micro businesses to encourage fitness for people in our local communities. People suffering with mental health, as we know that's a really big issue at the moment. So I just get to do really good things really for the community, which I really enjoy. And then previous to that, I was Pinkspiration, transforming and rebuilding empty spaces and empty shops.
That's right.
So part of the business, I've now handed my business over to my husband to run. So that's
happy days. You can have that, buddy. You crack on.
Yes. So yeah, he's now running the business, and yeah, so that's been really good, but it's been a learning curve for me because it's like handing over your baby to someone else.
But that's what I think everyone, coming from Cardiff and the surrounding, that everything, we haven't come to Pink yet, because I know, there's loads of things we can talk about Pink. Just generally, I know you love the colour and you love everything around it. And
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, that must have been something that, to hand that over from you. I know how passionate you are about that. It must have been heart-wrenching.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge, and Leon's really stepped up to the plate in taking that on, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah, cracking.
So as part of the business, we had a number of projects and contracts lined up, and of course, a lot of those have been paused until March 21.
Yeah.
But we're still very busy doing online training and online construction skills. So Leon's working on a bird box project to train and upskill local people,
Right.
and that project's really, really good. So it's all about looking at teaching people from the community construction skills at home. So they log on by YouTube and they click on our YouTube channel, how to build a bird box, how to paint and decorate, how to, how to change a washer on a leaky tap. So it's all about teaching people construction skills in the home, which we think
what's
is...
the, just for the listeners, what's the link for that? Because I think I'll be on that straight after. I mean, my wife will tell you, I've got 2 left hands. So I don't do an awful lot of DIY at the moment, but she's asked me to do loads. And I've got it, so I'll be on there. How do people get onto that? What's the link?
Yeah, so they can click on our the website, which is pinkspiration.co.uk. But the content's currently in development, so it'll be ready in about 4 weeks' time, 3 to 4 weeks' time. Brilliant. And that'll go live, I think, just in the new year.
What I'll do is I'll share that on our website when it does go live. Let me know, and I'll share the link up on our website. That'd be great.
Yeah, and it's things like, essential skills people need to learn, like how to paint and decorate, how to wallpaper, how to,
You're talking all the ones I've got to do. You're making me look really bad here.
Things like how to plaster is always a good one.
That's a great one.
Yeah, how to plaster. And then we'll be launching that series then in the new year. So that's quite exciting. So yeah, a lot of our business now has moved to online.
Yeah.
But some of the projects, we're actually delivering materials to local people so they can actually produce things like bird boxes in their home. So we go around, we've made all, Leon's made them all, flat pack, all the bird boxes, and then people can build them, put them together, learn the construction skills, and then install them into their house. So it's that type of concept, really, this construction at home.
That's amazing. You've always been very passionate about training. I know last time we spoke about training, developing young kids. Obviously that is the fire, and that's still burning.
Yeah, so I've always been passionate about helping young people and community members to thrive or to crack on. And I love doing that because I just think it's quite rewarding. I've worked with I've trained and upskilled, I think 10,000 young people and community members, young mums, young dads, ex-offenders, those at risk of offending, and really, highlighting that people can have a second chance at life. So basically, they may have offended, but it's just the beginning for them. I work with lots of young women to build their confidence and to really help them to thrive. So a lot of the young people and community members I work with, when I start working with them, you can see their confidence build in the space of 6 months, and you can really see the difference when they thrive. But I love doing that anyway.
That's just you can tell if the listeners can't get the fact that how fast paced you are, they definitely can within the first 5-10 minutes. I mean, you're like this all the time, and that's why I love you to bits, because it's exactly the right. As soon as I knew I was doing this, you had to be on there, because exactly that. You're just a million miles an hour, and I love that.
Yeah, and I suppose within that I can get to design and create my own projects, but I love training people and bringing them along with me. So we obviously started the launch of the Pink McLaren, which was about 3 or 4 months ago.
I saw that.
If everybody knows me, the listeners, they know that I love construction and supercars and supercars. And I think I've been blessed to have the opportunity to work with Ferrari and design the UK's first pink Ferrari. And now I've had the opportunity to work with McLaren, which is amazing, and launch and design a world exclusive with McLaren. And really, to be honest, it's like a dream come true.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got cars as a section, so we'll come on to your cars, but definitely later on. The bit with the pandemic now, how important do you think it is? So how do we get out of this pandemic? Obviously, it's crushing the economy, both Wales, UK, is crushing everything. I mean, surely a lot of the money now is going to be about, I listened to Gordon Brown the other day back about investing in young people and growing the economy that way. How important do you think that is at this moment?
Yeah, I think we need to have investment for training and skills for young people, and in particular, women and girls and BAME groups, because they've been worst affected by the pandemic. I think we need to look at a clear reopening strategy of the UK, because in my opinion, I know obviously the virus is there. There's under 1% chance of you catching the virus. So I really think that not many of the politicians or the media are highlighting the true facts of the virus, which is frustrating a lot of people. So I think, part of the virus is very media hyped up, in my opinion. That's only my opinion. So
and I think it's a fair comment, isn't it? I think it's a fair comment that there's a lot, some people, I think a lot of it, if you had chance, you could sit downstairs from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night just watching news. And all the news, a lot of it is not positive. It's a lot of it is negative. And, you're not that sort of person. I'm not that sort of person that gets dog bogged down by that. But that's what's out there at the moment. And that's what people are seeing, aren't they?
I think there's a lot of scaremongering out there. I've got to be honest. I think it's not good for our economy. And I just think, we need to look at a reopening strategy for the whole of the UK now, because there's too many mixed messages. So we're in lockdown, not in lockdown. In lockdown, we've got restrictions, not in lockdown. And I just think my view is that we need to reopen the UK, the whole of the UK, and we need to reopen it as pre-pandemic. And I think we need to learn to live with the virus in a safer way. So lots of people are distancing themselves, lots of people now working from home, lots of people are doing online digital content. And I think I'm classed in the high risk category because I've got asthma. So for me, I love being out and about in the community and working with people, but even now I think about where I am and who I'm around, and just to make sure that I'm safe. And I think if everybody takes their own measures, I think that's fine. And I think we just need to look at getting back to a little bit of normality. So hopefully from March 21, we can see that resuming into the UK. But I think in terms of business at the moment, I think with the politicians and the media, that they're not pulling in the facts, they're not making the decisions based on evidence, and I think that people are seeing right through that at the moment. And I think the strategy needs a complete rethink with the UK and local government.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think that the frustrating bit, obviously I'm in England, you're in Wales, and we're in totally different categories. I don't even know, I'm not going to go, this podcast is not about going down the COVID route, but from a rules and regulations point of view, how can you possibly not have the same rules and regs in both countries where, we're in the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom's got to come through this. A good friend of mine said to me the other day back, however much, when they went back to the politicians, Trump versus Biden, if you have a look at the country's in 10% growth in their GDP. Ours is in 23% decline. Now, ultimately, if you look at how both of those are being operated, one's, you've got our economy just hasn't been looked at. Don't get me wrong. I'm not begrudging the public health scenario because I totally agree with it. But I believe as well, same as you, you need a collective approach out of this. And I think, it's exactly right. But on that pandemic scenario, how is the construction industry in the pandemic? How's it looking at the moment?
Yeah, so construction, obviously the UK and Welsh government are looking to build 10,000 new homes. So the construction industry is quite busy, like private sector's very busy. People are doing the conservatories, new kitchens, people are buying new houses. So that market is quite buoyant at the moment.
That's good.
So in terms of construction, it's very, very busy. This year, I feel like I've worked 4 years in one year. I've been that busy. And so the construction industry is really buoyant, I would say. But obviously, we have got some challenges where we can't get young people onto site experience because of the pandemic. The colleges and universities are not allowing young people to go on to sites because to minimise risk. So we have got a few challenges with, I'd say, community-focused construction projects where a lot of those have been paused, and we need to get those restarted again, because they're the entry points where young people can get new skills and then get onto site.
Yeah.
So I think, I think the UK needs to look at a clear construction program, training, work experience, on-site experience, and industry-based experience for young people, to get them back into industry, because we're going to have, like you said, a bit of a black hole.
Where... I'm in an industry where 75-80% of the people we take on are between 18 and 24, and ultimately our industry, or my industry generally, has been decimated, it's having a real tough time now. If they haven't got something to go into, like, if they can't go into the construction industry, and then they can't go into, I really feel there's a massive, there's a black hole now for these young kids coming into, young adults, and I feel that there needs to be a lot more done for that. And I think there's obviously that Kickstart program, that looks like, I don't know, that's been uptaken in the construction game. Is that something that you guys use?
Yeah, so we've got the Kickstart program, and local councils are introducing academy-based work paid programs. So for 12 weeks, you can get on-site experience and get paid, I think it's minimum wage or living wage.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of those schemes starting up, but a lot of them have started, and some of them are a bit slow because they can't find the placements, because obviously the construction industry is, even though it's operating, they're not really open for training new talent at the moment because of the pandemic, and nobody's really certain of what the future is going to look like. So at the moment, I think it's a case of everybody, working through it, being really resilient, and working on. We use the pandemic to work on a number of private projects. So in a pandemic, it's always good to do it yourself. I
was going to ask you that question, because the last two people I've interviewed is about, I was saying advice for young, young kids. I mean, 18, 16 upwards. I mean, my son's just turning 16 like next year. And, we were talking this morning just about what he's going to do and how he's going to get there. And ultimately, and those people, they all need something. What would your advice be for those young people in this world that are looking at, it's quite a daunting prospect, but how do they think, what would your advice be for them?
So my top tips would be to get on-site experience with an employer, and get out there straight away, get onto site, find one of your local sites or an industry that you want to work in, and just, get in, whether that's through volunteering or through a placement. Just get that on-site experience would be number one. Number two is to really I always think about, the end goal and work backwards. So I always do a lot of visualization, what do I want?
I love that. I think personal development, anyone who's done any personal development books it's all about visualization and the end in mind, isn't it?
Yeah, visualization is really, really positive, and, being positive. Sometimes, even though we're faced with adversity, being very positive. I read a book called The Secret, which changed my life, which I thought was amazing, and it just helped change my mindset. So I'd highly recommend reading positive books and switching off in the media.
Totally. I'm 100% in agreement with that. I think that, again, we spoke about it earlier on, didn't we? The media, and it's hard not to be pulled into that. But I agree with you. I think that would be mine as well. Get yourself in a good book. Get some audios, get them into it, and get some positivity in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's good. Experience good for self-development. So also I've used this pandemic to keep myself fit and active. I've been working with a lot of the financial institutions, so NatWest, Coots Bank, Lombard. So the last 6 months I've used it to my maximum capacity, I suppose, and because I know the people at the bank are, they're home working, I've been able to work directly with the biggest financiers in the world, and so I've used this opportunity to upskill myself in that area. And I think it's really good, because even though I've never really been a big one for finance, I like spending money, but
we all do.
As for accounting and tax, so I've just passed that over to my accountant. I think
take that from me.
Yeah. It was funny when my accountant said to me this year, "I think you need to register for tax." I said, "Really?" I was like, "Are you sure?"
I better get on the ladder.
Yeah, and then I had to pay my tax. Bill, and I was like, "Oh my goodness me!" But yeah, I think, surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of starting a business, just go for it, because I started my business back in the in the recession. So it's a really good time to start up, to learn new skills and to get ahead. And I always think if you can survive and thrive in a pandemic, and in the worst time, essentially, recession, pandemic, Brexit. So if you can survive and thrive in that period of, it's quite tough. I'll give you an example. Like this year, I found the most successful year, but the toughest year.
Yeah.
And that's because I think, lots of things are different. We have to, as entrepreneurs, we have to navigate our way around what's happening. So, things like call times have doubled. You can't speak to anyone in less than an hour.
Yeah.
Even to get my Sky switched on in the house. I know this is like a small thing.
No, it's true. It's totally true, isn't it? I mean, everything has to get something done. I haven't phoned so many people as I have in the last sort of 6-7 months, which has been great but ultimately a conversation doesn't take 3 minutes. It takes 25, half an hour. It does, doesn't it?
And some days, if you've got to make 10 calls or you're really busy, that side of it gets quite frustrating. So I think we're all working throughout this pandemic together.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it takes sheer resilience and just, constantly get up, do it again, do it yourself, crack on.
Yeah.
Like you
I
said,
like that. Good. I like that. Plug it in. So would you say, these young people listening, like I said, I hope I get a few listeners that are under 40, but if they were sat there, experience, if you were interviewing somebody or taking someone on, experience or attitude, which one?
I think attitude is the best, a tip, the best traits young people could have, and experience can be learned. So if they've got the both of them, then great. But yeah, attitude is always a good one. We always look out for young people who are committed, and really wanted to go that one step ahead. And I think the one step ahead concept is something I've always embraced. So I'm always one step ahead. So I'll just give you an example of that in business or in my world. So everything is organized, everything has its place. I'm constantly training for the next. So obviously we all have hits, like in the boxing ring. We're all going to get punched in the face.
That famous saying from Tyson, Mike Tyson. You can train as hard as you can, then you get smacked in the face.
Yeah. So and I've been punched in the face, I think about 4 times in the last 6 weeks, like being punched. And sometimes it wins you, and you think, oh God, can I cope with this?
Yeah.
But I think if you keep training and you keep yourself organized and you keep yourself one step ahead, you should be prepared really to deal with anything. But as in business, like it always evolves, and the bigger your business grows, the more challenges you get. So the more money you make, the more problems you get. That's a fact.
The bigger you grow, it is. I mean, it's going on the ups and downs, business, life. You've had your obviously ups and downs since starting off. You maybe a few of them you could talk through and how you came through them.
Yeah, so when we were looking at purchasing again the new house, we hadn't actually had the decision until a week before. So we essentially thought we were going to be homeless, and I had to get onto the phone to the CEO and say, right, what's going on with this? I need a decision. I need to get this over the line. And I was quite pushy with them, and they said, all right, you haven't had a decision yet. And I said, no, effectively we could be homeless and during a pandemic, which sent me into a panic mode.
Yeah, but it would. I mean, that's going to send anyone into, that would panic most people, wouldn't it?
Well, I didn't sleep for about 2 weeks before. And that was a bit of a challenge. But we spoke to my bank manager and then said, look, we've put everything in place. And I'd spent a lot of money to get us to that position. So
of course.
I said, look, this deal has to go over the line. There's no, it can't be a no, basically, because I'll be left homeless. And I said, you really don't want me to be left homeless?
What are you going to do? Why are you going to do it? You know what I mean?
Like basically, you have to push this deal over the line. No.
Yeah, that's got to be the leverage. I got a story in a second, I'll tell you, but it's quite similar actually.
Yeah, so I was on the phone to the CEO of one of the banks, and I was sat there the one day, and Leon said to me, he said, what are you going to do about it? And I was sat there thinking, Lisa, what are you going to do about this? We're going to be left home.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, Lisa, it's on your head. Like, on your head be it. And I was feeling the pressure. So I thought, right, that's it. I'll speak to the CEO, get on the phone. Like, you better call me immediately.
Ring me now. Ring me now.
Yeah, ring me now. So in fairness, they were very good. They got the deal over the line, and they sent me a bottle of champagne as an apology and £300 for taking so long. But I think that moral really is to be a bit pushy.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes, you know, sometimes you want to sit back in business, but I always think whenever I sit back in business, you just need to be pushy, basically.
Yeah, and someone's going to be on it. I mean, I'll give you a story, an example. I won't actually mention names or venues because, but when I was going into one of my venues, we had the contractors on site. They were working. They nearly completed, and we still didn't have the money lent to us to pay for it. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that was exactly the same. It was about persevering, understanding, using the leverage as well. You know, I mean, the leverage was you either do it or literally all the group are in trouble. You know, we've got other venues that are in trouble. So we used a bit of leverage. I mean, to be fair, it all worked itself out. And it's an example that, you know, you have got to take chances. I mean, one of the things, again, one of my previous callers was talking about, you know, if you're going to go for it, you've got to strap it on and you've got to go. And this is a market, you know, by hook or by crook, where there's big diversity and big fluxes, there's opportunities to be had, isn't there? So
there's definitely opportunities out there. I mean, when the pandemic hit, we had a couple of properties on the market with estate agents.
Yeah.
And we pulled them off there and we've listed them on Facebook. Yeah. And Facebook, I must admit, like more and more people, I think, will start selling their houses via Facebook. Because I've got to be honest, it was the housing marketplace on Facebook. I never thought I could sell £500,000 worth of properties via that platform, but I did.
Yeah, I think the marketplace, I think, is amazing anyway. But there's so much you can do, and I think, you know, that's an example of it. But actually, just thinking outside the box, isn't it? You know, you'd never thought, or something. You know, you'd never think that a house would sell on that, and then bang, it's gone.
Yeah, it was gone. They were both gone within 2 weeks, and we saved something like £7,000 in estate agency fees. I did something like 3 viewings on each property, and I had 3 offers in excess of the asking price. So
that's just your selling. That's just your sales skills. That's just your sales skills. I'm telling you. Go on.
I was going to say that the one thing that I think, when the pandemic hit, we could have sat back and thought, we'll just ride this out. You know, we'll just wait until March 2021. You know, we'll do whatever. I suppose that I always think you should do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And that is where you can create opportunities and magic, is when everyone's going one way, you go the other way. And that's where I've always seen my biggest success. Yeah. So when everyone's sitting at home in lockdown, Lisa's working twice as hard.
Yeah, because there's an opportunity out there, and you know, someone hasn't seen it, or people. I agree with you that, you know, people will run away from something, but that's where the opportunity is. It's a bit like the leisure industry for us. I mean, it's in chaos. I mean, it literally is retail. You know, bars, restaurants. I mean, honestly, I think I've been doing it 22 years. It hurts me, but whatever happens, there's going to be people that will benefit from this the other end, because they will pick up deals. They will pick up great pubs or bars that unfortunately went through. And by hook or by crook, you've got to support them, because that's the way out of this. That's the way out of this pandemic, isn't it? It's to grow.
Yeah. What do you think are the key opportunities then in hospitality? Because I know hospitality's been hit really hard.
I can't help but think. Look, city centres. I mean, I've got to be a bit candid, because obviously I work in the city centre, but I think key operators will work. You know, I work for Deltic. Deltic are a great company. I'm not, just saying that because I'm online. They're run by good people, but we've got big spaces, and I think in a pandemic we've got an opportunity to roll them, because we've got the biggest space people can fit into. I do think the opportunities though are in the local pubs, food offerings. I think in the sticks, where I think that and I think the pop-up outdoor summer leisure, that's where it was going that way. I think this will accelerate it. And I think that's where I think the opportunities are. But I don't think the city centre will ever people want to go out. There's appetite for young kids. I mean, I feel for our industry, because again, we are a place. There's no youth clubs anymore. There's no there's nothing for kids anymore. Whereas actually, however much, yes, we serve alcohol, but between 18 and 25, we are the main place they would come out to. And where else do they go? What
Yeah,
else, what else
yeah.
have they got in their lives if we don't operate and open it? That's, that's the bit that I'm more passionate about trying to keep them alive, because they've got nothing to go to. And take the money a bit to one side. I really do think that we're a fundamental place that people should come to. And so, yeah, I think I think it'll shift out of the city centre, but I still think there is a place for places like Deltic. And I think it's not going to, people, there's still appetite for it, so it's
Yeah,
interesting. It was tough.
yeah, I mean, the risk that you've got with, closing pubs and restaurants, obviously a lot of people use the spaces, hospitality, for lots of different things.
Yeah, of
So
course.
socializing, business purposes, meeting, greeting clients, go on and on. But I think the challenge that we've got is that if they are not open, then people will just go to other people's houses, or they will find space. I mean, we've seen that in the last lockdown, hundreds of thousands of people congregating in the Bay, Cardiff Bay, in the Basin. So I think it's a real challenge, because whilst if you shut, hospitality, people will find somewhere else to go.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so,
And yeah, I mean, we're so regulated on everything, right? We're not. It in the construction game is, you're regulated up to the hilt. I understand it. We as bars, and we are regulated like literally to the nth degree, and the amount of money that everyone's pumped into that, it's exactly what you just said. It's hard then to stomach, but the fact that we're not to blame for this. But come a certain time, I will say 3-4 in the morning, when everyone's had a skinful, it's very tight and tough to try and manage people, But a bit of leniency till 12, 1 o'clock, that would make us the money we need to. I think that's the sensible approach would have been better on this one. But it's really tough. But look, the leisure industry will adapt and grow.
I think you're right. We have to extend this, this opening time till 12 o'clock. But also, I think, my opinion might be a little bit controversial, is that I just think the government is being too controlling over people's lives now. And they're just controlling too much of our society and our economy. And it could be to the detrimental impact, well, probably is. And I think, the UK government, local government, I think they need to stop interfering with businesses, and basically just let entrepreneurs, businesses get the economy back on its feet, back to where it needs to be. So obviously, for me, I think yes, we've got a pandemic, but actually, we need to look at the economy impacts. Young people's mental health, more suicide rates. If people can't go and meet a friend for coffee, what sort of economy are we looking at? So I think we just need to have a common sense approach. And the World Health Organization has even said no to lockdowns. They just don't work. I mean, you lock people down, you open the gates, of course the virus will increase again.
Of course they are, yeah, absolutely. That's where you see, Cardiff. I mean, I've never seen Cardiff at the moment is the hub for everyone to go to, because England's closed. So if I was in Bristol, I'd jump on the train, I'd go over.
Yeah, I know it was heaving yesterday.
It will be. And I think the problem is with that is that you guys then are going to be back to where you were, and then locked down even longer because of the problem. And it's a bit like tennis. It'd be like, over the bridge, tennis ball over the bridge type scenario. It's a tough one, isn't it? And
I think definitely the government have not got their strategy right now, and I'm not supporting lockdowns at all, because I do not think that they work. Initially, in the first instance, a short, sharp lockdown, but I just think lockdowns are just not working.
Yeah, I think
that's only like you. I might get shot for saying that.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we'll go off politics at the moment. We're changing. We'll do a bit of sideballing, and so I was gonna. You do a lot of. You do a lot of work with supporting women, and I know you've done awards and you've launched things. Can you go through your work with that and what because I know you're very passionate about it. Is there what sort of work have you done recently with it?
Yeah, so we launched the Top 100 Businesswomen in Wales awards 2 years ago. So that was a Pinkspiration project with I Am Woman, a very, very successful initiative celebrating women from the local community. And this year we were going to do an online digital awards, but we've decided now to carry on and have an awards in 2021. So we will be looking for nominations and for people to be put forward. I think after the pandemic, everyone will want a big celebration.
Yeah, of course we will.
And I think, you know, from my point of view, there are lots of like women and girls going the extra mile in business and in their communities, and lots of women do amazing things. And you know, they volunteer for the local areas on allotment projects and volunteer to get people together. And I think you know, we need to carry on and celebrate that and recognise you know, local women in our community. So we're planning to do the Top 100 Business Women in Wales Awards again in 2021.
That's great.
And we are currently working on finding some sponsors for that, because we think it's, you know, a really positive project to run.
Yeah,
and
well, there's a nice little plug for you. Anyone who wants to sponsor, let's get them rounded up.
Yeah, get them around, and yeah, just celebrate amazing women doing amazing things in our local community. And I think some of the feedback that we've had at the last award ceremony, we had about 120 women and girls be celebrated, and everyone got certificates. We had a glass of bubbly to celebrate.
Oh, it was great.
I mean,
yeah, I saw the online. What I found really inspirational was that there were people in that list, or people that were being recognised, that actually would never normally be recognised. And I think that, you know, and that I say that in a way that you know, big awards are for, you know, and they get not disqualified, but I just thought it was a really good night. I spoke to many a person that was there, involved in it. I just thought, you know, from what you've done and how you've done it, I just think it's brilliant, especially for the South Wales community and beyond. So one of the questions I was going to ask you, obviously equality at the moment in the workplace, and it's a big, you know, it's a big factor at the moment and big publicized. Where do you think we are generally within equality in the workplace?
I think we're making a lot of headway, and lots of, you know, big businesses now have recognised that, you know, to have equality in the workplace is good for business. So it makes commercial sense. It's commercially viable. Actually, can increase profits. So that's a good starting point. But I think we've got a long way to go still. Like in construction, there are only 12% of women at professional roles, 5% of women in engineering, and 3% of women in the trades. So we've got a lot of work to do in that area, and to encourage more, you know, equality into the workplace. But I think as a whole, within the construction industry, lots of the construction partners that we work with and contractors, they're really, you know, open to new talents. So I think this is a great opportunity if you're thinking about getting a career in construction. If you could be working in hospitality, admin, in, you know, in different industries, to get into construction at the moment is a great time to get in, because we've got the 10,000 homes are currently being built, and I'm working with colleague Gwent, and that they're running a women in construction course. And when I first started working with them, they'd only have about 2 or 3 women engaging, and now they've got 14, so I think more than that, 16 women and girls on their construction course. That's and brilliant. In January they'll have about 20. So they're making significant headway. Actually, they're probably leading at the moment, I'd say, in the UK in terms of getting more women into construction. Fantastic. So we've worked with them for quite a while. But yeah, I think if anyone's interested in getting a career in construction, they can get in touch with us as well, and we can point them in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's all. That's just awesome. I mean, there are going to be, you know, unfortunately, as I say, our company, you know, quite openly, I'm not saying out of turn, they are laying people off, you know, and there's lots of positions throughout the country that are going, and majority of them at the moment seem to be, there's a couple of sales team people went, and you know, they will be looking for things, and there's more and more people on LinkedIn looking for opportunities, and that sounds like an awesome growing community that will keep going, won't it?
Yeah, so I've mentored a couple of young girls from the local community via Zoom, and just help them get ready for interviews and help to transfer them in and make sure that they, you know, in the right space, in the right place, because a lot of women and girls attempt to get into trades, but sometimes they get refocused into being in the office or whatever. So I've been doing a lot of mentoring, and you know, getting more women into construction and into industry, I think, is vital. There's so many opportunities there. And for me, you know, I like engineering and supercars, that sort of stuff as well.
I tell you what, you just plugged it on. You just plugged it on to supercars. That was my subject I was coming to. Talk me all about them, because every time I see you, or I sat in one of your cars last time and it was awesome. So talk to me about the love of cars, where it came from, and what you're driving now, and what will people see you driving around the streets of Cardiff in now?
Yeah, so I've always loved cars. I think it's my dad. I think maybe he wanted me to be a boy when I was younger, so he had me working on site and in his car. And I think because he had me on site or in a car from such a young age, I think I was in a car. I drove a car when I was 10 on the beach.
Wow, brilliant.
It was on private land.
We'll keep that one. We'll edit that one out later on.
Yeah, I mean, this is going back years and years and years.
Yeah, it was ages ago. It was ages ago.
But yeah, I think for me, that's where the love of cars came in. And then I just, I always worked in industry and then always had a car. I think my first car was a Peugeot 106. And then I think I was driving from about 16, 17. And then I always designed my cars and customized my cars. It was more of a hobby than anything else. And I know lots of people in Wales and UK probably agree with me. Everybody loves motorsport, motorbikes, sport cars, supercars. So yeah, that's where my love of cars came in. So I've always had a passion for cars. And I think, more recently, I think to design and make the first pink Maserati was amazing, and working with a team in Cardiff, and that was really unexpected.
Yeah, I love that. I can't wait to sit in that one, I tell you.
Yeah, so the pink Maserati was amazing, and then obviously had the opportunity to work with Ferrari. Actually, as you mentioned it, here's my model.
Hey, there it is. Oh, brilliant.
So I've got a model custom made of my pink Ferrari.
Nice.
And yeah, so to have the opportunity to work with Ferrari and, all the amazing people surrounding that was fantastic. And initially when I started working with Ferrari, I said, well, what do you think the chances are of me getting a pink Ferrari custom made with you, designed? And then they would have said, oh, you've got no chance, basically.
Yeah, you got Bob Hope.
Yeah, that was the answer. I mean, Ferrari had said they'd never make a pink Ferrari out of the factory.
Right.
So, we're currently in discussions with Ferrari about making the world exclusive from the factory, and hopefully we get the opportunity to do that, which would be awesome. And that could potentially be a 2021 car, because they've just launched the Ferrari Portofino M, which we were just invited to the launch for. Right. And we had the opportunity to work with Ferrari. They bought over all their Ferrari Romas, so we do track testing with them now, and I get to drive all the latest supercars, which is like a dream come true.
Where's that get done then? What race course is that?
So that recently was done in England, and they just had a road track. So we tested. I've got to publish the content for that. So they brought over 11 Ferrari Romas from Italy with some of their F1 team, head of design, and it was amazing. It was really good.
It just sounds, honestly, I know a lot of people. I mean, I'm going to mention Dan Rees, a very good friend of mine. It's a proper petrol head. And he'll love this sort of talk, because he loves his cars, his bikes, everything. But no, you'll get excited by that. So yeah, you brought him over 11 of them. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Tell him to come over and have a chat with me. So yeah,
he will love it. He's down the road in Cumberland, so he'll definitely love to have a look at that for sure.
Yes, the Ferrari California, the model that I've got, is naturally aspirated, and I must admit, you can't beat a naturally aspirated car.
What is that? Tell me. I'm interested. What is that?
Yeah, so just naturally aspirated, where you can hear all the exhaust, and natural aspiration is where basically all the petrol fumes go into.
Brilliant. I know exactly what you mean.
That's a lot of petrol. It's not very environmentally friendly, naturally aspirated.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing to have a car which is naturally aspirated, and I have to make a decision now whether I want to move it to the new, more modern car, which is the Ferrari Portofino M, which is the car I'm currently looking at for 2021. But yeah, to have the opportunity to work with Ferrari, and it's amazing, really, and I'm really thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with them. And I just feel blessed that I never in a million years thought I would drive a Ferrari. That I've got to be honest.
That's what goals are all about, isn't it? Because what are your current goals at the moment? What do you said about the end in mind? What is the end?
Yeah, so about 3 or 4 months ago, we were looking at the McLaren, designing the pink McLaren.
Yeah.
And that was like a dream come true, working with the whole McLaren team. And again, it was amazing because they had a lot of time for me because we were in a pandemic. So it was a great opportunity to work with the McLaren team and Robert McLaren over in Bristol. And we launched that a few weeks ago, but we're doing a lot of supercar events, so supercar pop-up events, and we think the Wales can be a supercar destination. So alongside being green, we will have, the idea is that we'll look at working on supercar pop-up events for the local area, link young people into that for employment training opportunities, and we'll get McLaren involved in it, Ferrari, Aston Martin, and some of the big, maybe BA, British Airways, because we're looking at doing it on the airfield or on some of the airfield. And so that's something that we're looking at for 2021. And obviously doing more work to support women into construction industry and business. So just supporting.
Busy. Honestly, Lisa, you're busy all the time. So we're going to wrap it up in a second, but I finish on one question for everyone, and I'm going to do the same with yourself. So if anyone listening to this podcast is sat there thinking, right, okay, this is all about getting off your rear end really and getting something done rather than sitting and procrastinating. What would your advice be to anybody that's listening on cracking on with what they've always wanted to do? What would be your advice on that?
So I'd say now is the perfect time to go for it and really, maximize all the opportunities. So we may be, like you said earlier, 25% off the economy. Within that, there are lots and lots of opportunities. So, go out there and grab the opportunities by the horn. And really, I would say, some days, because we're working through a pandemic, there's lots of negativity, there's lots of, I'd say, the atmosphere is a little bit depressed, but I'd say, get up, crack on, and just go for it. So I always believe that if you do something yourself, just do it yourself, and don't rely on anyone else to do it for you. So do it yourself and stay focused, and that's it really.
I think on that note, I will 100%. I'd just like to say thank you ever so much. It's the second or third time we've done this, but thank you ever so much for being a guest on the Crack On podcast. And hey, look, have a great day. And I know this pandemic is going to work out for you. And good luck with the future.
Oh, thanks for inviting me on, John. I can't wait to see you
online.
And are you making me some pink cocktails when I come up to you?
Oh, 100%. Pink cocktails all the way. I will make sure I shake some pink cocktails for you. Crack on!